Over to you, SG.
Thank you very much, members of the media. On behalf of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, it's my singular honor to stand here today to outline to you the build-up programs and the celebrations of the ANC 112th anniversary. We have arrived here in Mpumalanga, the province of the rising sun, with our first meeting of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. The meeting have commenced with a political overview of the President. We have just finished presenting the annual report of the National Executive Committee. The Secretary General of the ANC, in terms of Rule 16.6.5, is expected to present an annual report to the National Executive Committee. That annual report is an account of the National Executive Committee's work for the past year, and that account goes to the structures of the organization, all our branches, regions, and membership of the ANC. That report have been presented. We'll now get a report from the MNE, Monitoring and Evaluation, led by second TSG, Marupeni, on the interventions that have been made in the past year in terms of the work that has been done in government in terms of what we called different activities of manifesto review that have taken place in the country. Comrade Marupini and Phoebe Potgieter, our head of research, will present that report this afternoon here in the meeting of the National Executive Committee. And thereafter, they will also have an opportunity to interface with you about that discussion in the National Executive Committee. They will have presented in the press conference media briefing this afternoon. But that also goes with the presentation on the framework of January 8 statement. What is likely to go to the January 8 statement, and what is our overall assessment of the political socio-economic situation in the country, and what is likely to inform our approach and our forward momentum in relation to the new year. So that's what is going to happen, and our National Executive Committee has started. We will be having the most important event on the 13th of January here in this venue of the celebrations of the ANC. And on Monday, we'll have a cake cutting to celebrate January 8th birthday of the ANC, which will happen on Monday. Thank you very much. The African National Congress is holding a meeting of its National Executive Committee in Mpumalanga. With its rich history of liberation struggle, Mpumalanga is the perfect host for this year's January 8 statement of the ANC. The province has been home to many of South Africa's most prominent liberation struggle heroes, each with their own inspiring story of courage and resilience. From Bethal to Daggaskral, Emelo to Secunda, Mkizeville to Volksrust. These places remind us of the sacrifices made by those who fought for the freedom and equality of South Africans. Their legacy lives on, inspiring us to continue the fight for justice and equality for all. Bethal, Mzinoni, many of South Africa's prominent liberation struggle heroes such as Richard Gerten Sibande, Nokuthula Smelani, Ruth First, and Henry Mr. Drum Ngumalo have a history with Bethal. In Daggaskral, Oxford-educated Dr. Pixley Sakakaiseme, who founded the African National Congress forerunner, calls the modest settlement of Daggaskral, which overlooks the vast landscapes of the highlands of his homeland. Dr. Pixley Sakakaiseme, the founding father of the African National Congress, lived in the small Highveld settlement of Daggaskral, not far from Amersfoort. Historically, Ermelo served as a critical juncture in the struggle for South Africa's liberation, acting as a pivotal stopover for the ANC's Umkhonto weSizwe members traveling to Swaziland and Mozambique. The region, which experienced forced removals in the 1960s, also boasts many cultural and natural attractions. Secunda. While Secunda is typically associated with industrial and commercial sectors, it also has a rich liberation history. It was home to some of the country's most daring freedom fighters. Vincent Sikiti, also known as Sydney Sibepu, and Victor Kayani, also known as Bongani Mthethwa, were key Umkhonto weSizwe Special Operations Unit members in a major operation in 1982. They executed the bombing of the strategic Sasol petrochemical plants, leading to their recognition at the Sasol 3. Sols, Mkhize, Driefontein, nestled amidst pine forests and recognized as one of South Africa's dams, also holds significance in the nation's fight for freedom. Vusimuzi Sol Mkhize, chairman of the Driefontein Community Board, firmly opposed the forced relocation of African landowners. After a peaceful protest gathering escalated into conflict with the police, Mkhize was fatally wounded. His legacy is commemorated by a statue erected in his honor in 2008. Volksrust. The story of Volksrust is intertwined with the efforts of human rights activist Mahatma Gandhi and his wife, Kastuba. Arrested repeatedly for their protest marches against discriminatory laws, their efforts ultimately led to improved living conditions for the Indian community. National Executive Committee meeting scheduled for 5 to 7th January. The NEC meeting is set to take place as it has started, and I've already alluded to that. The NEC will focus on a number of issues that I've already explained. The NEC, when it rises on Sunday, will focus on the build-up programs. As previously mentioned, the January 8th rally commemorating the 112th anniversary of the ANC will take place at Mbombela Stadium within Mpumalanga Province on Saturday, 13th January 2024. We are commencing the week with a wreath-laying ceremony at the burial site of our departed Liberation Movement pioneers on Monday. This will be followed by a commemorative breakfast with their respective families. The 112th ANC anniversary will be celebrated with a cake-cutting ceremony, the time for which will be disclosed in due course. Interactions with a variety of stakeholders will follow this. Tuesday's program will include the revolutionary pilgrimage, catering to interactions with the traditional leadership here in Mpumalanga. Wednesday will be schedule includes a session which will focus on poverty alleviation programs and fighting crime. On Thursday, it will focus on interaction with young people who have been supported through government programs, but also in their own story and their own challenges, and interacting in a conversation with the leadership of the ANC. This will happen from all four corners of this province, from east to south, north, south to north, and east to west. We will interact with all beneficiaries in our democracy in terms of government programs that are aimed at addressing the question of skill shortage and upskilling, particularly those who may characterize as the disengaged, but also who are beneficiaries in terms of scarce skills, who have not had an opportunity to have these skills except being supported by the ANC government. We will also have marches of reclaiming the night, because we believe that the fight against crime, it's a partnership between communities and government. And of course, the police are an integral part of that particular work. And that will actually happen as well on Wednesday. So a partnership between communities and the civil society in the fight against crime is important. Creation of street committees in the fight against crime are important. Working together with the police and further boots on the ground that have been released by the Department of Police, that is to be welcomed. But we need to nudge and ensure that we entrench this partnership in the fight against crime. But equally, those cases where you find GBV cases, we will as well be strengthening those families who are affected by GBV, who their cases are before the law, and at the same time strengthening their hand and supporting them in this fight, and calling for conviction on those who have perpetrated acts of violence. But at the same time, what is the role of the state and government in relation to the victims? How are they being attended to when they go to police stations and all of that? But equally, conscientizing the rest of society and mobilizing that the fight against GBV is for us all. It has got no color, it's got no riches. It is a societal struggle, but equally, it is about me and you, and at the same time, to deal with the phenomenon that is eating the moral fiber of our society, which is called gender-based violence. And this is what we need to deal with in our efforts of mobilizing of society. And then on the Friday, we will have the dinner, in which the president will deliver the preview at 8 o'clock sharp in the dinner, which is a fundraising dinner, but the president will deliver a preview statement in which he gives a sense of what the January 8th statement of the ANC will look like. We will crisscross the province in terms of deployment. Media will equally be informed about the program that is going to unfold post the National Executive Committee in terms of this work. We are focusing on fighting against crime, poverty alleviation interventions, and at the same time, emancipation of our people through programs, either support for schooling, but at the same time, intervention programs in terms of upskilling our people and addressing the challenges that are faced by the disengaged youth in our society. But at the same time, we will talk to our membership through cadre forums throughout the length and breadth of the province, talk politics of the ANC. Where are we as an organization as we celebrate this January 8th? What are the challenges that lie ahead? What is expected of us in the major program we are executing of renewal of the African National Congress? So we have arrived in Mpumalanga. to kickstart the process of the celebration of the ANC 112 years of the African National Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. G. At this point, I will really take very few questions, and they've got to be brief. We will have one question per media house, and we will see what the time of the SG looks like. Shall we go? We'll start with the NCA. We introduce ourselves, and then one question, please.
SG Kuleli Treaty Jones from the NCA. Firstly, some of the fundamental points you highlighted last year during the January 8 statements was the issue of the energy crisis and the ailing municipalities. A year on, are you satisfied with how some of the programs the government have been carried out to address these issues? You mentioned that load shedding would be done by last year, but just in the new year, we still have persisting energy issues such as load shedding stage 3. Just your reaction to that?
Thank you very much. I'm going to
address that.
Okay, all right.
Because I don't have a pen. We're at the pitch, so the pitch is a site of play. So,
let's play.
Yeah, let's play.
Let's play.
Now, first, with regard to load shedding, we have said as the ANC, which we are a ruling party, we want load shedding done. And we envisage that by December, that this will be the case. And in this particular instance, we are encouraged by the efforts of the workers and the management at ESCOM, and the fact that by now we have employed Dan Morokana as the CEO to strengthen the management. And then more powers are going to be given to the Minister of Electricity to focus on this particular work. A number of interventions have been made. Kusile, we have been reported as we cross to the new year, big announcement. Kusile, part of it connecting to the grid. That is what is important. And that on its own show that there is positive result in the work that has been done. And of course, we want load shedding gone like yesterday and permanently. And that has been the measure that Mbalula said load shedding will be gone, and all of that. It became a big issue when load shedding stage 2 and 3 was actually introduced. But throughout December, load shedding was not there. And our people and families had an opportunity to enjoy with their loved ones without any challenges of load shedding. But what is important also is that our government, working with local government in different areas, especially in the area of Gauteng, have managed to reinstall the broken, what do you call them? Transformers in the different areas, connecting communities back to the grid. We still urge communities to work very hard with everyone else to protect these transformers, because their vandalism have got an effect in terms of connectivity of the community to electricity in the different areas and local areas in our country. So we are confident with the work that has been done and with the signs we have seen practically of load shedding being reduced is quite encouraging to us. But nonetheless, we are not at the point where we can say we are celebrating. We want it gone, and we're very much concerned about the fluctuation, the tap and the Leipzig way, the ad hoc way in and on and off. We know the effects of load shedding in terms of the economy. So we want it gone. And we know that load shedding is being used and is going to be used in the campaign against the ANC government. And in this particular instance, it is against that background that it is in our interest, not only for an election, but for South Africa as a whole, that we deal with this matter, not just as a political issue, point scoring and the plastering up cracks, and then only to find that this thing is not gone. We must deal with it holistically and permanently for the sake of our economy, irrespective of the fact that there is an election or not. The question that December has come and passed, and there were glimpses of positivity in terms of load shedding gone, and now we're at stage 3 and all of that. Of course, it does dampen the spirit, but it does also show that there's a lot of work that has been done, and we will be celebrating overly, if ever, load shedding by December, as we had called upon Eskom and everyone to do so. That would have been the case. Now that it is not done, we are still encouraged by the efforts, and we are only saying to Eskom, continue to do more and make it a point that this load shedding is done once and for all. That's where we stand.
I'm going to take my colleague over there. One question, please.
This is SG, not so long ago you were in the province, you went to comment on the issues of Lily Mine. On the meeting that you're going to have with the traditional leaders, what is the likelihood of you getting a response since you've tasked with the executive mayor of the Commerce?
That matter, we're dealing with it. It's a very complex matter because there are all sorts of groupings that are involved in that. So it's not a straightforward issue. Because those who've got financial interest and who stand to gain financially out of that are contesting matters in and out of courts. What we want with COSATU is that the mine must be opened and people must go back to work. But we are constrained by these court interventions and all of that. And we're still committed to the work that we're doing. And at the same time, we're living in a country where courts are actually used as well by others. So the court processes have delayed what we may want to see as the immediate outcome in terms of opening that mine. Our strategic objective is opening the mine, make it a point that the people of Komazi in and around that particular area get to work in that mine, and that is what we want, and we're still committed to that. We are pushing in all directions in terms of our efforts. We are grinding in terms of ensuring that the mine is opened. But like I said, there are financial interests, and people who own the mines, they take each other to court, they delay all the efforts of opening the mine. But we are quite confident that the mine eventually over time will be opened, and people of Nkomazi will get to that lily's leaf and get down to work.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take my brother over here. One question.
SG Alpha here from EWN. Is the NEC satisfied with the performance of members who've been deployed to cabinet? Do you know the presidency has refused to disclose their performance reviews? And honestly, that does raise a lot of questions. What is the NEC's view on that?
When you look at cabinet performance, you don't look at individuals, you look holistically what government has done. Our government, in terms of the account of the review we have given, has done very well. We have had about 120 commitments we have made in our manifesto. Over 80 of those commitments have been made, and others are being implemented as we progress. Our Achilles heel in government is logistics in terms of Transnet and the challenges it's facing. Our Achilles heel is load shedding in terms of electricity supply that remains, that affect globally, and government performance. And those are the things that affect us out of delivery to our people. All other challenges are actually being met and are being addressed, and we can give a full account of that, which we have done in our manifesto review process. So we don't single out ministers and then say this one has not done well and all of that, and then they must be subjected to punishment of removal and all of that. We believe in collective government work in terms of delivery. At the end, the ANC will be judged as a party and as a collective. And where we are not doing well in terms of areas that I've mentioned, we are strengthening ourselves to basically ensure that we do deliver. You know that we are addressing a couple of years of state capture that has ravaged the performance of some of the entities. Transnet was well run, efficient and all of that, and we know what state capture have done. We have addressed state capture. We know what state capture have told us. Who are the culprits? We're no longer thumb-sucking now. We've got reports before us. We are not thumb-sucking when we talk about state capture. State capture in law is actually now being affirmed as the reality. It's no longer something that me and Mahlengi we theorize or we are throwing bones about it. It is confirmed through the Judicial Commission of Inquiry by Judge Zondo. And the battle cry now around state capture is that let those who have delayed progress and ravaged and undermined the efficient functioning of state entities face the music of the law. I mean, face the law in this particular instance, the might of the law. And that is what is important, and we are for that. And we ourselves are very much part of society and impatient with how things are happening, but we are confident with the work that we are doing to strengthen law enforcement and all of that, that indeed these people who are implicated in the fall of the state institutions and in particular state-owned entities will face the music. And some of them are before the law, are in court, and they've been arrested. Of course, some have been released, but the NPA have told us that it's temporary and all of that. If somebody is implicated and is just released because the state, in terms of gathering information and evidence against those individuals, is weak, that then bring into question the capacity of our institutions. So all of those need to be addressed, to address the work that has been done by Judge Zondo through the State Capture Commission.
I'll come this way. I still have to take the others that haven't had a chance. The newsroom.
Just a quick one, SG. This administration has been big on renewal and bringing back unity into the party. So I have to ask this. Has the NEC spoken about its former president, who is actually here in Mbalula this weekend campaigning for a different party? And what did it say about that?
We note President Zuma's presence everywhere in the country, in our political life. The NEC have directed that we will reflect on President Zuma and the statements he have made, and his endeavors to launch or to establish MK Party, which has been registered as a political party. We will deal with that matter at length and in depth at the right moment. There are a lot of things that have been said every day, some which we believe are distortions and are far from the truth. But we're not going to respond in snippets. Our constitution is very clear. There is no two parties. There is no party called MK existing in our name through somebody who wants to be a savior of the party or a messiah. There is no such. In the ANC, you resolve your issues in the party. We have had difficulties over time through different epochs and periods of transition and all of that. In snippets. Our constitution is very clear. This thing is not new. When people were disgruntled, were not happy about President Zuma, they went to form COPE. When people don't agree with President Ramaphosa, they form MK. I don't know when me and Mahlengi become president, what will they be disgruntled about and what will they form? So that has happened in the life of this organization. And COPE today is dead, basically. Many members have come back to the ANC. Very few are still on the other side. So the ANC remains. The ANC does not belong to Mbalula. It does not belong to President Ramaphosa. And there's no ANC of Ramaphosa. There's no ANC of Thabo Mbeki. There's no ANC of Mandela. There's ANC of our ancestors, which will remain for many generations to come. We talk renewal because it's either we adapt or die. At a given point in time, we commit mistakes, and then we say to our people who have heard from the path we're following, and then we are on the path of renewal. In our last manifesto, in the last election, The reason why people voted us, we said to them, we admit that in the past 10 years, you have given us this opportunity to lead. We have veered off the path of what is expected in terms of the values of the ANC. Give us another chance. We are embarking on the process of renewal, which is what we have done as an organization. So we are on the path of renewal, and that is it. Any distortions politically that have been peddled out there, we are going to respond to them at an appropriate time. And it's not that we will leave them hanging and not respond. We will respond. And all what we are saying to our members, let's focus on the task. Let's focus on the task. The task at hand is the liberation of our people from poverty, the fight against crime, to ensure that there are jobs in this country. The people of South Africa will not vote for the ANC because we had a squabble with President Jacob Zuma. The people of South Africa are going to vote for the ANC because we fought load shedding, we fought state capture, we fought corruption, and we create jobs. That's what the people of South Africa want, because we had a squabble. The people of South Africa do not want us to come to Moses Mabhida, to come to this wonderful stadium to celebrate, and then the manifesto or the January 8th statement is Jacob Zuma. They are not interested in that. President Zuma himself has had his time as president. He can go look at his own track record and praise himself. That I've done this, I've done that. He did the things that he did because of those were ANC policies. Where he has had weaknesses, the ANC has suffered dearly. EFF rose from a mere party of no percent to 10% during his tenure as the president because of Nkandla, because of a state capture and the Guptas, and became a bigger party. So that is what has happened. They disrupted parliament, and then that is it. And then their numbers increased. They even, in that process, called themselves people who could be looked at as people of superior logic, because they won cases. And then they were affirmed that the ANC is on the wrong side and all of that. So we are from there. And the ANC was always there. And we enjoyed the pain and the suffering as a party. Now we are out of that. The people want renewal from the ANC. Anyone has got the right to form a political party. And by the way, let me take you to confidence. Mkhonto Wesizwe is a trademark of the ANC. It's well known. Even if you can camouflage it, do anything, it belongs to the ANC. So when we fight for our symbols and our assets, we are not fighting anybody. You've got the right to form your party, your disgruntlement, call it whatever you call it, but leave our assets. And if you take our assets, legally we will challenge them. And that's what we are going to do, and we're doing as the ANC on that particular matter per se of Mkhonto Wesizwe as a party. So I'm saying we have given them a letter of demand. They've responded in the way they've responded, but we are moving ahead in relation to the matter itself. So for us, we have been quite keen to engage with President Zuma because we've got no issues as a party, as the African National Congress, with President Zuma. And we would love to have engaged him before he took those steps that he have taken. But now that he has taken the steps he have taken, we've got to respond to that. And we'll respond to that ideologically in terms of its ideological expression and its standing in relation to how it affects the African National Congress. At the right time, at an appropriate moment, we will respond, most definitely. For all our members, all hands on deck. All hands on deck. Good people of the ANC will remain with their organization. And the masses of our people too I've always understood the ANC as their vehicle. And that is why we as leaders of the ANC, we have just been privileged to lead. But this does not belong to us. Tomorrow I can be out of this, there will be others who come and even do better. Or I can even do better in what I am going forward. And that's it. It's a relay. But for now, the task is renewal. Renewal or death. And that's what we are about. So that's why we are here in Mpumalanga to do this work. As we come down, you will see our program. Join us wherever we will be and so on. We're not chasing anyone. Everyone, anywhere in the country have got the right to do what they want. But I'm saying to you, when Mbeki was removed as a president, angry ANC members went to form COPE. They were dissatisfied about President Zuma. And then they formed COPE. President Zuma today tells us that he's not happy about President Ramaphosa. He formed MK. We don't know what will follow tomorrow when somebody else come in to lead the African National Congress. But we have survived. We have survived. It's only now where we see that there is a convoluted alliance of moonshoot against the ANC, and there is another one, President Zuma call it Patriotic Alliance or Front. I don't know. He calls it Patriotic Front. So we look at them, but we remain firm. And our president is President Ramaphosa, and he will lead us in this campaign. He will lead us going forward.
Colleagues, unfortunately, we have run out of time.
Now I want to hear that ENCA belt.
Well, I do need to favor the one colleague that whose hand has been consistently up. If I were to do that, we'll take yourself and we'll end with the NCA. Let's keep it short, colleagues.
Thank you very much. Just to check,
President Zuma, in terms of his membership of the ANC, will respond at an appropriate time. But you must go and read the constitution of the ANC, Rule 25. What does it say? In terms of members of the ANC who undertake activities that President Zuma has undertaken. So we are all members, we are equal before the ANC constitution. So there is no supreme leader in the ANC. Even Ramaphosa is not a supreme leader. If Ramaphosa commit mistakes, it's because the ANC have allowed him as a person. We are all accountable as a collective, not an individual. Where we are faltering, we are making mistakes, we are not. The ANC all the time takes time to pause and reflect. January 8th is about that. It's to listen and not run around and not listen to yourself. You listen even to your critics, the people who don't like you and all of that. You listen to them because there is truth at the end in what they say. If we are slower in certain areas, we need to listen to that. And as a party like we have met now, map a clear way forward and then say, in terms of the January 8th, which January 8th is marching orders? What do we need to our deployees in government, to all our members? What do they need to do in terms of government, wherever we are deployed and wherever we are, in terms of accelerating social transformation? So we are at peace with everyone. So we'd love to engage. Unfortunately, we did not have that opportunity to engage with our elder, our leader, former leader, who at any given point in time, like all leaders of the ANC, convene us from time to time to engage us. Here are the issues and so on that we need to talk about and so on. We are disappointed but not shocked. Disappointed because we expected elders to be the ones who give guidance. They don't have to belong to structures. So answering your question, President Zuma doesn't have to be a member of the NEC to call me to his house and tell me what he thinks, how he feels. President Mbeki doesn't have to be here. President Khalima doesn't have to be here. Msimanga or whoever doesn't have to be here. They've got the right to convene us anytime and tell us what they think. If they so feel, they can even come here, we'll give them a slot. But President Zuma is an ex-officio member, but because of the challenges he faced of the case and all of that, even before we came in, the invitation was curtailed at that moment when he was arrested and convicted. So there's not been any invitation to him to come to the NEC. But even then, we accorded him the status of an elder of the ANC, who doesn't have to belong. Even anyone can come to the rally on Sunday and all of that. They will not be dismissed here. So these are elders of the African National Congress, and they belong to our organization. And that's what is important. So you don't have to. These people have joined the ANC ngegazi, some of them, and he will probably say to you, I don't need a membership to be a member of the ANC. I'm a member, even if this and that happens. But we are guided by the Constitution. The center must hold. The discipline is to all members. So in this particular instance, you've got a choice to make up your mind to be here or to go, and that is it.
Thank you very much. I see that my colleague from ANC says he's covered now. Can you just give that indication again? All right. Thank you very much to you, members of the media. We will keep you updated on the live briefings that are going to be taking place. Do look out for the updated media advisories that will be coming out twice a day up until January the 8th. Thank you very much, SG.
Thank you. Happy New Year.